the day, so I went in to put a check in and somebody brought 80 in. And I said, I just take them. And they said, well, you want a bag? And I said, no, I just put them in my pocket. I was like one of them rap guys. I was like one of them rap guys. I was walking around holding my breath.
Okay, I guess we do play, right? Keep going here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we got minutes to approve from the last June meeting. Need a motion to approve,
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
And what comes that report here?
Short and sweet.
Yeah, it's a shorter one, isn't it?
Good things going on, but they've been less eventful. If that makes any sense.
That mean people are complying with what you're asking them to do? Is that what you're saying? Less eventful?
Say again,
Is that because people are complying with what you want them to do?
they've fallen in line rather well, with the occasional straggle.
That's the new, that new one is that's a hoot. Now, I don't know if you guys are, you don't like that one or not.
Where's
Read
five?
the bottom item.
Where's that 5 points at?
If you go out past the ball diamond, straight across Brick Church. And there's a
Keep
little-
going west.
Yeah, going west. There's a weird little intersection with a couple of angled roads, straight going straight west. That's called 5 Points Road. About a quarter to a half mile.
This is in
where the county.
reference to his ball, it was formerly Bob Halvin's farm out there, if you know where his farm was at.
Oh, yeah, I know where his
Yeah,
was.
it's his, yeah.
So I assume they didn't tell anyone they were planning on turning that into a dwelling?
It was a surprise to me.
It was already done.
Very unique, yeah.
They had the wiring wrapped in, the finished walls it was all covered. There's still work to be done, but
There's
and it's an old A.O. Smith silage silo. It's a short, fat one. I think it's a little bit above 30 feet tall, which is 30 feet's the maximum height of structure. They're gonna turn it into a dwelling. And that's what it looks like it is. So the call was for the electric to be turned on. There is a power that goes beside that on a pole. There's a transformer with a meter base and a disconnect. And it's been off for some time. I suppose it served the equipment on the silo. And so I was given word to go out there and see what it looked like if it could come back on. So the trees were more than half the height of the pole. Couldn't even get back in there to actually see it, to look at it, put hands on it. And there's a deck with steps, 7 steps up, and a front door on this silo and windows. And it was unlocked. So I took the liberty to investigate. And so then I got a hold of Steve at the county, and he was interested. And later that afternoon, we both met up there and looked it over, took pictures. Of course, his concern is because the permits would come through them. Our control would be whether or not zoning allows it. That everything else would be through them. It has plumbing, so it looks like it would need a septic system. There's a water closet for plumbed there, the toilet's not there, but they're planning on it, so. We both put stop work orders on it, had a conversation with the, gentleman that was there was the owner's father. And we spoke with him and, he kind of had I tried to tell him about the son who owns the property now, that he should maybe investigate before doing.
Yeah.
And so this is where we're at right now.
Is there anything they can do to get into compliance, or is there anything compliant
If
about it?
we allow it by zoning ordinance, it kind of equates to a tiny house.
Mhm.
It doesn't have the required square footage for a dwelling according to our ordinance. So I don't know what you want to call it. It's non-compliant, whatever it is. If we allowed it by BZA to be the second dwelling on the parcel. If the owner got all of those green lights, then the structural issue would be one of the first things the county would want to tackle. It would require, in their eyes, an engineer to evaluate whether the silo that was designed to be solid all the way around now has 6 or 7 windows and a front door cut in it. Does that make it structurally adequate? And it was built in 1960, according to the records online. So you've got a 50, 60-year-old silo with windows and doors cut in it. And that would be the first hurdle to get over. And so then it becomes probably a financial issue as to whether or not the person would have the fortitude to go forward.
Find that interesting. I just got back from Iowa today and one of my clients that I go out there, he converted a harvester into his office building. They don't move. It's nice. 3 stories.
It can be done.
Well, there's a hotel in Ohio that's sold silent.
There's.
Are they in the town or out of town?
They're in
They're
the mile.
city limits.
They're in town,
They're in
Mile.
out in fact,
the front.
they're out.
And there are places in Indiana that have them, but I think the ones that I've noticed looking around online, they're more grain bins. Larger diameter, short and fat versus, a silage cycle. I'm yet to get back with the owner, Ben is his first name. I wanted to hear what you folks might have had to say about it before I contact him probably tomorrow.
But it is the county's responsibility. Do you have to look at it, or just the county?
We only have control of the zoning portion of it.
What's the intended end use? Is it, an Airbnb or a
So,
playhouse or?
yeah. Airbnb was not mentioned, but it's clearly intended for a sleeping room. He said when family comes from out of state, it would be convenient for them to have a place to stay while they're visiting. And people that drive trucks come in and out, and apparently they sometimes have need to spend the night to load up and leave in the morning. So it's clearly, I think, intended to be a place for people to sleep. I don't know if you call it a dwelling. What's the definition? You have toilet facilities and kitchen sink and a loft for sleeping. It looks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It could be a duck.
That's a complicated one.
Other than the small square footage, if it were a bigger floor plan, it would be much easier to say, yes, this is definitely what this is for.
And I would say if our input is only on the zoning, I would say if it's, determined to be a safe place and me personally, speak for Dylan, but if it's a safe place and they've already put in all that money on it. I don't see why not, but, I mean, obviously, the county's gonna have their own opinion on it. But I would say at least as the zoning's concerned, I don't know what anyone else's thoughts are, but, you know, it's safe and it's just a temporary spot for someone to sleep overnight. I can see it, like you said, like.
Have rather somebody have that than a old junky RV sitting out in their backyard.
I agree.
Or down by the soccer park.
It's getting cleaned up.
Yeah, it is like a lot. So, isn't that zoned agriculture?
A1.
So it doesn't have a lot of. So what would you have, what would have, they'd have to give a variance, they're
I
not,
have to get a variance of developmental standards. I believe it's either that or if you used to add a dwelling, a second dwelling on the property.
I think this gets back to a conversation we had earlier in the year, you know, someone wants to put a granny bottom behind their house, or, you know, what are we going to, what are we gonna say with that, you know?
well, the nice thing about it,
They call them granny pods, PODs. Have you seen them or not? They're like full mobile homes that you get and you put your parents in them when they're older, and it's like an aging in place thing, so, yeah.
Sean's checking out. Parents.
Not specifically, but I do, I'm a proponent of that. I mean, I think that's, especially talking to some of my coworkers from other countries where, you know, eventually it is multi-generational living and having, you know, families together like that. I think it's one of the downsides of our traditions in the US, honestly.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't take care of the elderly very well. So I guess my only comment is, you know, I always worry about setting a trend, but when you're looking at harvesters and the 2 Mile Fringe, there's the two across from the park. And then that one, and you don't have very many more. So they're all gonna be out in the 2 Mile Fringe. So they're not like they're gonna move them in town. You don't have any in town.
I mean,
that.
if it's safe and constructed, that's not gonna collapse on somebody while they're sleeping, I mean.
It's probably a good, I mean, it's better than just letting them sit there and just rust away, I suppose. Surely they can't, I just tell Steve to put a heavy tax base on it. County needs it. Well, really, you know, they probably don't have hardly any tax base on it. Turn it into a home, put a heavy tax base on it. Helps the county.
So with the fact that there's plumbing for sanitary discharge, then the health department will be involved to try to figure out how.
Well, they need it, you know,
I
they
mean, all
need,
that has to come.
yeah, they don't need to run it down the creek. They're gonna have to put a
Right.
septic in and.
Sure. So in my mind, the whole thing hangs on what do you define it? What is it? If you call it a dwelling, then we're bound by what the zoning ordinance says.
It's a silo is what it is. I mean, that's what it is.
Okay.
I mean, anybody that drove by it would say there's a harvester silo. That's what it is.
The door lights.
And windows. I mean, I don't know how you do it with the BZA. I don't know, but I mean,
They got called a secondary residential structure or something like that, you know, just.
There's already a house on the property.
On the house,
Yeah, I think secondary, for that, it's not the primary house, but just,
What would you call? Usually rent, you know, what would you call a pool house, for example?
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, house, yeah. Mhm.
There is a house on this property.
yeah,
A farmhouse on.
Yeah,
the
there's-
property.
there's a big house on it.
Like I said, it's for traveling relatives and such. Place for them to sleep.
Back of the property.
That's it, but,
I guess my other comment too is I'd take the lead on Steve where the county's gonna go. If the county's really against it, they really don't want it to do it, then I wouldn't go ahead and variance it. Then that throws it back on them to deal with it. I guess they're the one that's ultimately gonna have to make sure it's up to whatever standards they want it to be.
And the financial piece of it is more on what the county is gonna require. And for the owner to know upfront that that could be an obstacle they may not want to try to get over. The conversation needs to be had with them. So this is what we're looking at.
Yeah, why-
If we say yes, this is what you're up against, and whether or not you wanna go that way.
That place there, you don't have to worry about the financial issue.
Well, the old man doesn't own it now, the son does.
Trust me, the old man's there.
Do
My,
you know the gentleman?
yes,
Of course,
he,
Enos, his other son, there was a BZA approved.
he would be the major owner. Dad would be the major owner of the trust company. And I think major investor in the lumber yard.
Is the dad, has Ben Fisher?
Sam.
Sam.
And I'm not too sure they're into a major investor in the new garage door business out on Rattle. So I don't think anything, I don't think, if they want to do it, that's not gonna deter it. Not money. My understanding, he's basically the bank of the community.
Finance.
Yeah. It's my understanding. So my finance is gonna be an issue. So you don't want to go ahead and say, well, they'll never be able to afford it, because I think probably he can do anything he wants to do personally, financially.
I'll take all that into advisement. Pour over the book some more and see what equitable solution can be had.
You seen any progress on Plum Street?
On what?
Plum Street?
The progresses of the meeting on July the 21st.
Did he ever respond back about having you come in and look at it before that meeting?
He hasn't responded to me. I don't know if he's communicating with John.
I think you had mentioned that they were having trees taken care of too, or a tree taken care of.
The town had ended up getting a big branch out of there, so, yeah. They had indicated to me that they were going to do it, but they didn't.
My renters had several phone calls with him too, and every call was, oh, they'll be there.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
So did we take the limb out?
Yes.
So it's out. So we did that, and then we just, that's just another lien. We didn't do it free. That's just another lien we put on the property for that service. He gonna get a lot of money in that property.
Mhm. I'm pretty sure Richmond just, did a very similar situation where they tore down one of his properties just within the last couple weeks, I think.
And the newest thing, the construction in lot 1, Cedar Pines, is got footing in, got blocks laid, they're doing some rough grading, and we'll be going up relatively north.
They're moving right along.
That all I've got.
Did anybody reach out to Brad Robinson?
I haven't.
I haven't.
Bob Warner gonna be back on.
He can. He was in the 2 Mile Fringe, and now he moved back into town.
Oh,
We got-
we need the fringe.
Brad would fit the 2 mile fringe.
Yeah.
I can talk to Brad if you want.
Okay, that's good. So. The EDC, maybe a 2-year contract looks good to them, because my understanding in 2 years that goes away anyhow.
So what again?
Well, they didn't get funded.
There's no funding after 2 years, it's gone.
The state, the new state law put in, part of that law where they, property taxes and all that, part of that was defunding the EDC. So in 2 years, they lose their funding.
I did not know that. I knew they were part of it, but I didn't realize they were losing all of that funding.
I think they lose all the funding the way I read it. Didn't you read it that way, Chris, when we looked
Uh,
at that?
that's what they said at the AIM dinner, when they were doing the, table topics before the meeting, yeah, they did say.
Yeah,
that.
but
I think I got there a little bit later, but they said that for like.
and then we looked up that bill and it was in a bill. Yeah, I think they lose their. So I don't know how that goes, whether, do you make an investment in something that's not gonna be there 2 years from now?
I wouldn't. I've already seen us start using our EDC money right here in town, and they're going away in 2 years. But then again, maybe if they're going away in 2 years, maybe they'll be more apt to really spend all the money that they do have.
Yeah. Yeah, from my experience dealing with them, I would agree that if we have the money and are able to use it here locally, why not do that? Because we've given them so much money over the last 15 years and nothing seemed very little in return. Yes. My thought.
No, I don't have anything new.
Any more rumors from Chris Conwell's?
Yes, sir. They got a new, it's wrote in, erasable paint, opening soon in the fall.
Any reason?
Yeah, I believe it, and I see it.
Um,
I did see they put their logo on the front glass.
I think it's permanent, isn't it?
Nothing's permanent.
So that, they're not updated on that, so, yeah, so they've got, they've sent their, plans and application to the state, waiting to see if that can get approved. They're bleeding through that EDC money like it's water. So they didn't listen to Chris very well. I'm assuming they'll run out of money before that thing's even ready to go. I don't know. I just don't see how. It's gotta have all the electrical, right? It's gotta have some plumbing. You gotta have built-in bathrooms with toilets, just not a hole in the concrete, correct?
And accessible.
And the kitchen has to be a defined kitchen space, right? That's just
Fire protection.
a lot.
All that.
They're already through about 60% of the money. So. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. That wouldn't be that price. Between 50 and 60. So I just don't see how they're gonna do all that.
I'm just waiting on a construction design release. So that then they could get permits.
So what, they'll have to have a plumbing, a construction and an electrical permit, right?
Construction, plumbing, mechanical. Electrical. Fire protection part of the hood will probably fall under the mechanical. Certificate of occupancy.
does the state give that to them or do you give it to them? You do. So they moved it back from September to what did it tell us, Chris, October?
Yeah, like fall or.
Oktoberfest. Free beer for the community. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know
really.
until you said that.
Seems like a lot to get done.
Yeah, that's about where that's at. So
Okay.
they have signed all the paperwork, everything's moving along on that. So.
Okay, anybody got anything else new they need to talk about, or if we kind of covered the new and old subjects here, it sounds like.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
I want to ask you a couple things about the board broadcast.
About.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, it did work.
Bottom right.
Bottom right end, oh, there we go.